Americans today feel worse about their current financial situation and the economy than they did during the Great Recession as well as the dot-com crash. This week's edition of Off the Charts, we want to dive in on why that is and also why that could be a great thing for the market over the next year. I'm Jordan Dunsmore, and this is Off the Charts. So this week's chart has to do with consumer confidence or consumer sentiment, basically how they feel about their own current financial situation as well as the broader economy. And this survey's been around for a really long time, 50 plus years, so we have a lot of data that we can comb through. But the most interesting thing that we see right now is this is the fourth lowest reading of all time. It means over the last 50 plus years, this is one of the most negative that U.S. consumers have been about their finances in the economy over a really, really long time. We kind of look at it as potentially four things. Inflation has been pretty sticky over the last few years. Interest rates are higher than they have been in about 15 years, higher home costs, but then we also think it's on the political side of things. So there's obviously some uncertainty with tariffs and other geopolitical issues, but there is so much polarization on the political side of things now that half the country, no matter who's in office, probably has a negative view about the next year. But the Consumer Sentiment Index is a contrarian index. It's really unique. Every time that we see a really low reading or when it hits a trough, it's usually one of the best times to invest. And every time consumers are at their peak, historically it's been a really negative time to invest. I want to highlight just a couple points here and then we'll go to the averages. But you can see the most recent reading was 52.2. The previous low before that was June of 2022, which if you waited a couple months from then, it was a really good time to invest, but you actually made 17.6% over the next year if you invested when consumers really felt the most negative about their finances. We look at February 2020, that's when, hey, everything was going well, it was one of the peaks. And then a month later, the market dropped 30% because of COVID. So again, it kind of goes to show you that best laid plans, or you think everything's going well, and then you're hit with a pandemic. But even in February 2022, the market still saw a 29% return. A couple of the other ones would be January of 2020, basically when the market peaked, when the dot-com bubble began to burst. Consumers were more confident than they have ever been in the history of this reading. If you invested then when everyone thought it was going to be euphoria, the market actually lost 2%. Over the next 1 year. And then we'll look at one other one because it was the second lowest reading, May of 1980. It almost hit 50 at that point. But again, it was negative. There was inflation. There was political polarization. Interest rates were really high. If you invested in May of 1980, you would have made 20% on your money over the next 12 months. But again, it's a contrarian indicator. The 10 peaks that we've seen over the last 50 plus years, if you invested at the peaks, the next 12 months performance-wise was only 3.9%. And if you invested when there was blood in the water, the 9 troughs, the next 12 months, the market returned over 24%. So it just goes to show you when everyone else is positive on the market, maybe move in a different direction. But times like these, when everyone is negative, it could be time to get some of that cash on the sideline back in the market. So thank you for tuning into this week's edition of Off the Charts, and we'll see you next week.